And thank you, Ranking Member Craig. Secretary Rollins, thank you for appearing before the committee today to talk about what's been happening over at USDA for the past 6 months. I want to start by asking you some questions about the Make America Healthy Again movement and the MAHA report that your agency, alongside the Department of Health and Human Services, released last month. Secretary Rollins, did you personally review the MAHA report prior to its publication on May 22nd?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Since you reviewed the report before publication, did you notice the report cited non-existent studies, or that there were a number of missing or broken links, or that the report misrepresented underlying studies? And if so, why did you not ensure they were corrected before the report was published? And if not, do you take responsibility for the work the agency publishes on your behalf without your review?
Those have all been solved, but thank you for the note.
See, what I'm concerned about here is making sure that our children in our country are actually healthier, and I welcome this conversation with my colleagues and the administration. But sound policy actually follows sound science, and right now we're not all working from the same set of facts. So as you move toward the August deadline for the second report, I strongly encourage you to follow the science, not to jump to conclusions, and to rebuild trust by ensuring transparency, accuracy, and meaningfully engaging scientists, agricultural, and nutritional stakeholders. So turning to another area.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Turning to another area of concern, I want to talk about the quarterly agriculture trade report.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier this year, you indicated the report would be released on May 29th. Yet it was ultimately published several days late and without the usual explanatory section. It had been reported that you delayed the report because it showed an increase in the trade deficit in farm goods for later this year. So Secretary Rollins, why was the report delayed and incomplete? And was the delay related to the report showing a worsening trade deficit in farm goods?
I will look into that and get back to you. It's my understanding that we wanted to make sure it was complete, that the citations were correct, and that the review was done in total. Of course, I've only been on the job 118 days with 100,000 employees and multiples of these reports moving all the time directly out of USDA. But we'll look into that and circle back.
So did your team remove the explanatory text from the report specifically because it attributed to the growing trade deficit to the Trump administration's tariff regime?
It is my understanding that that was not the case, but we'll look into that. I think the president has been very forward-leaning on understanding that we're in some time of uncertainty, but as these trade deals continue to get done, China announced about an hour ago, the UK 2 weeks ago, more coming, that's going to be a really important part of the conversation moving forward. I want to make sure every piece of research we move out is the best cited, et cetera, and so that's a big part of my portfolio right now, is to ensure that.
I'm glad you mentioned uncertainty, because economists, farmers, and others rely on reports like this to track markets and plan for the future. When you start to insert politics into data releases, you harm the reputation of your department and erode the trust the government is trying to produce when it has untainted data. So, Secretary Rollins, will you commit to publishing data and reports that are complete and free from tampering of the underlying data?
We just have to make sure our internal review process is in place, but yes, we will work around the clock to ensure it is the correct data that gets out at the right time to make the most impact for our farmers and ranchers.
I appreciate that. I expect my colleagues and I will continue this conversation because the stakes are simply too high for those who fuel and feed our nation. At a time when chaos reigns from this administration, our farmers deserve certainty and support from Washington, not uncertainty and spin. So thank you.
Thank you,
Ms. Secretary.
Congresswoman.
And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.